first round of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. Scott Rankin and Peter Davison will be behind the commentary team here tonight. We're just firing into qualifying from round number one of what's going to be a 10-round championship complete with pre-qualifying. 40 cars make the main event, and those 40 cars have just kicked into the first of their qualifying sessions. The format for qualifying here tonight is going to be 3 groups of 10 minutes each. The qualifying groups will be set by fastest times during practice. So at the moment, I believe we've got our bottom 12 cars will be making it out on track. After that, you'll see your next 14 cars, and then finally your top 15 will make up the final 10 minutes of the qualifying session. So drivers on their warm-up laps at the moment, trying to bring these tyres up to temperature. They're just barely going to have the time to get the temperature into those tyres and get a hot lap. So it's going to be important to make it count here as I bring you in Peter Davison. Obviously, Bathurst, we all know it. We all know the bumps. We all know the tricks. We all know the turns. What do you think's going through a few of these drivers' heads at the moment?
We certainly do. Hi, Scott. Thanks. Welcome, everybody. Well, I guess everyone's just out there trying to get some temp into their tyres. Try not to cook them up a little too early. You've only got 10 minutes, so really you might have an opportunity to have 3 flying laps if you're lucky. The 10 guys that are out here now, we had the whole field in qualifying was only covered by 2 seconds for 40 drivers. So, lap times were from 2 minute 0.3 out to a 202, low 202. So we've got some pretty fast guys here tonight.
This will be the back chunk of our drivers to fire things off. Fastest time seen in the service so far this evening is 2 minute 3:16, and only 200ths of a second further back, Andrew Gilliam with a 2 minute 3:36. So Damon Woods top the practice time sheets here on the race server tonight. 24 degrees Celsius is the current track temperature, as our guys will be making their way up and across the top of the mountain here for the first time tonight. Stephen Bartholomew in a Lamborghini. That thing is going to be driving by the edge of its teeth in these first couple laps. So too will be the Porsche. Those front engine cars, Peter, they've just got that little bit of extra stability in these opening couple of laps that makes it a little bit easier to drive.
Yes, the mid-engine cars, they drive well, but they tend to snap on you, and when they do at a place like this, it can only end in tears. Obviously, we have the race tonight limited fuel, so there will be a pit stop as well. But damage is on, and you don't want to damage your car at Bathurst.
That's it. You don't want to climb over the wall too early. We will see, I'm sure, some of that here tonight as well. A few drivers up and down the field just starting to get their times in. I believe we've got the first of our times due to come in just a few moments. And indeed, Jesse Butler will be the first driver to set a time, quickly followed by Rob Carmichael, who sets a 2:01.858. 2:01.631 for Christopher Ireland takes him to the top of the timing charts, and those times continue to tumble. Carmichael very wide at turn number 1 as Chris Ireland will build up to temperature and start his second lap as well.
Henry's 2:01.8 for Henry's come in with Rob's 2:01.85, put Henry into P2. As you say, they're only just going to warm up. These are where the laps will start to get hot, excuse the pun.
Yeah, they'll start to really get some heat into those tyres and some wiggle room in for the drivers.
Christopher Island sideways out of Griffin's.
It's never something you really want to be doing early on, so might even end up aborting that lap. And I think that's Ray Oliver on his way to Murray's Corner. Will try and set his first lap in the 074 Frog Leap juiced entry. Up and underneath the Repco Bridge. In the first group, only good enough for 8th at this point in time, but that's 8 out of 10 drivers who have set a time. I'm just having a quick look. I think there's a couple drivers that are potentially supposed to be out. So there might be 1 or 2 drivers that are opting to start from the rear of the field and trying to keep themselves clean. Somebody off across the top of the mountain, I can tell you for a fact that it was Henry Thomas Kircher. So he was on an absolute flying lap as well, potentially going forwards. He's had to abandon on that one, and he will make his way at a pit lane again. Vanden, so that's Lee Vandenberger, is in P5, and he's actually on another out lap. So that was a quick return to pit lane for Lee. Try and get himself spun back up to speed. So we'll have to keep our eyes up and down the field. Big straights and elevation changes, though, Peter. It's known for favouring the turbo-powered cars.
It certainly is. Helps you drive up that hill and helps you drive down Conrod Straight. We've got Rob Carmichael who's about to set his second lap.
Yeah, so he will be making his way down to the final couple of turns and across the start-finish line. And didn't manage to improve on that lap. So his second lap was a 2:04.6. Might have been a cool-down lap. Might have just been trying to optimise those tyre temperatures and pressures for lap number 3. Christopher Island comes across the line with a 2:09.2 as well. So looks to be multiple drivers going on their first lap, backing it down, optimising those pressures, and then going again. Seems to be the theme of the night so far. But Simon Mazzomo has just set the fastest second sector of the lap here tonight, which I believe will be the run from Griffin's Bend up to the cutting. So good pace off of turn number 1 there. And he's managed to stick it all together and get a lap time down from Mazzomo, 10th best at this point in time. Will edge him just slightly ahead of Stephen Bartholomew. Bartholomew was one of the back runners in the practice session. Jake Maloney, I think, was the other driver who might have been intended to be in this time session. Hasn't taken the track at this stage, but 40 cars we're going to see tonight firing their way into Griffin's Bend. 40 GT3 cars. Gives you chills, doesn't it?
It does a little. Now we're coming up, we're nearly out of time for the first bunch of cars out here. They only get 10 minutes, and then pretty well race control will have them pull over and have the next bunch come out for their 10 minutes.
So this will be it.
So, yeah, pretty well.
Whoever's on a lap at the moment, this will be their last time lap, because with 90 seconds left on the clock, you would need to be, we'll say, the cutting to make this lap count. There's 2 cars that are up at this point in time. Ray Oliver, one of them, and Lee Vandenberger, the other. So they're going to be tight to make it. Thomas Kircher has started another lap, but will not count, won't get the time to get that lap completed in. Coming across the start-finish line at this point in time, Jesse Butler, who'll be followed home by Chris Island. And remember, just because these guys are the first 12 out there on track at this point in time, more times to come, so they will get split up a fair bit. So it's very important, even though Island's got pole at this point in time, that he needed to improve on that lap. He did not improve on that lap, did a 2:01.827, which meant his fastest lap was actually his first flying lap.
Yeah.
So that's insane pace that Island's found on that first flyer.
And Simon Mesmer's just going to get to finish this lap as well. I guess the other thing we need to take into consideration is, although it's only 20 minutes, the temperature, the track temp will go up another degree possibly. So it is climbing. So maybe the guys who get out in these early laps might have a little bit of a benefit from a little cooler track. We know what it's like this time of year in Australia. It certainly heats up quickly.
Absolutely it does. Autumn temperatures at the mountain, nice and cool out on the track, and that will sign, seal and deliver the first section of qualifying. Couple drivers that are on their faster lap, and that will set all things down. So first group is now done.
Group 2's peeling out of the pit exit.
That's it. So we'll see another mob of cars on their way out now. Few drivers, some of them might be electing to receive a tow if they can find somebody. And is that Blake Dowdell and Holiday looking to outfox each other? Neither of them wants to lead. They're both playing a little bit of games here in qualifying, but 30 seconds.
Blake and Ben are up Mountain Straight.
So
Rob Bowden, the 4th car out.
this is interesting from these two guys, Peter. Playing games with each other in qualifying with limited time on the clock.
Well, Marlon did sit there. He was sitting there for 15, 20 seconds at the end of pit exit. I wasn't sure if he was waiting for race control to let him go or if he was just playing a bit of cat and mouse. We all know how good the draft can be in a GT3 car. Although sketchy cold tyres and you've only got 10 minutes to get a lap in, that's certainly having a crack.
Who was that just towed as well? So somebody else has gone back to pit lane.
Marlon's. Sorry about that. Marlon's just slow going up.
It was Blake Dowdell who actually went back to pit lane. So he'll restart his lap. And I don't hate that decision, because if he's in a pack of cars, it was probably 4 or 5 cars all at the same point on the track, all at the same time. That's not what you want to do for the qualifying session. You want one guy to give you a tow, and that's just about it.
Well, Ben Holliday's out leading. He's on his own. He'll be the first one to get a lap. He's just coming down Conrod straight. Rob Bowden's coming out of the elbow a couple of seconds behind him, so they've separated themselves. Aaron and Seth having a little battle here for who wants to lead going down Conrod. And Marlon's each just dropped back behind those two, and they look like they might be all going to work together to try and get a lap in.
Yeah, it could be an interesting one. We'll have to keep our eyes on how this all works itself out, as they will eventually settle themselves down. And Bowden's going to get his way by Holiday. Holiday's now setting himself up to get the toe. So things change. The outfoxing, everyone's playing their games, and now the tyre warming strategies come to the fore. What's Rob Bowden got for us at the front end of this pack? What's Ben Holiday going to be able to put together in Bowden's draft? What are the drivers of qualifying group number 2 going to be able to stitch together? And my word, is it starting to... I've got tinglies already here, Pete.
Yes, yeah, so do I. Look, these guys, you know, they're endurance cars, so they really don't start working for a lap or two. So it was interesting for Christopher to get his fast lap out on his first lap. But yeah, they certainly want to put themselves in a position to grab a little bit of opportunity from some slipstream. Maybe follow the guy around in front, use his brake markers. Quite tidy as we climb up the hill into the cutting. Rob's still out there in front with Ben behind him. Seth's just tucked in nicely behind. Marlon's dropped off behind him and a little sideways going into the cutting and out of the cutting. The boys are all pushing.
I mean, it's always bravery on that opening lap in GT3s in terms of the tyres. How well do you understand the car? How well can you get the thing to settle down, and how well can you understand what the tyre slide is like to be able to drive it to its limits? And we've already seen Chris Ireland managed to clamber into the 201s. The real question is, can someone follow him along? Track temperature's not changed an inch at this point of the qualifying session. We're already halfway through, and these drivers haven't set a time yet.
There must have been a little off track. Obviously, we're under iRacing rules, so off tracks count under qualifying. Also within the race, incident points count. If you accumulate 20 incident points, you'll be having a tour through the pit lane, and for 10, every 10 after that, you'll get the same. Mind you, Mount Panorama, you don't really want to be hitting anything.
Well, I was going to say, if a pack gets together a little bit, concertina effects can trigger something like that. Just a few of those, and you'll find yourself in a transit through pit lane. And it's a sprint format, effectively. We will be going into, ladies and gentlemen, a 45-minute race at the conclusion of our qualifying session, complete with available safety cars. And there will be there's a compulsory pit stop on the basis of the fuel they've got won't get them to the end. So all of that to look forward to. Gilliam has set the track alight, though. Purple in Sector 1, Purple Sector 2, Purple 5 and 6, and he will jump to the top of the timing charts, and the first driver in our qualifying session to get the car into the 2-minute flats times. A 2-minute .786, and he will jump to the top of the timing charts. Sebastian Vandel will drop his way into P number 4. And Carmichael gets escorted down a little bit further. Matthew Boylett's jumped into P6, so the timing chart's starting to wiggle up and down, and that is just about all the drivers currently out on track who've set a time. There is one, and it's just ahead of Andrew Gilliam. It's Timothy Russell, who is yet to set a time as well, so it'll be critical for him in the HTS car to get this thing settled down and get that lap in. Gilliam's around, so Gilliam will not be taking further part in this session. You won't have enough time to get those tyres up to temperature, get back out there and get flying. So he's gone to the top of the charts, but that might just have to do for the driver of the 201.
Yeah, look, that's a great lap from him, and he was certainly pushing hard. And it's easy. There's a fine line between going fast and exiting out, which was great to see. He exited out. There's a lot of cars following him, so he kept out of everyone's way. Put down a great lap, and he's actually out again. Will he get another? He's got 4 minutes. He may have an opportunity to get another lap in.
He's going to be right on the buzzer. He's going to have to go absolute bullet gate on this out lap. Try and put some heat in the tyres and try and go again. He's going to have to hold that pace the whole way around here, Pete.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't know if he realises how brief his time is. But yeah, sensational lap with a 2.786.
They might be frustrated with it after coming to the wayside on lap number 2. Bowden's going to go out there and get another lap in. Gets a 2:01.7. It's going to be for Seth Brown, who catapulted himself up to third on the timing charts. Vardell was... So, yep, Tim Russell now gets his lap together and pushes himself up the standings as well.
2:03.6 for Timothy.
That's not a great lap for Tim Russell. Jeez, I've driven on teams with Tim Russell before, and he's a monster. He's got a great attitude out and away from the car, and I think he'll be disappointed with himself on that lap.
Let's put him into 23.
Well, it's currently the slowest of the qualified drivers, so I mean, at the end of the day, he has made it into the big dance, into the top 40. But have you got his pre-qualifying time there, Peter? Surely his pre-qualifying time is quicker than that. He's going again, so he's at least going to have another crack at it. This will be his final chance. Now keeping our eyes left, right, and centre for drivers that are on a hot lap at this point in time. McMullen improved, Cooper improved, Hewitt improved. Ash Davis is in this group and he's improved as well as Collins. So 14 cars currently continuing to circulate. The bulk of them have made it now into the top 10. There's only a couple that haven't quite put the lap here together. Be interesting to see whether Tim Russell was having an off lap on that first lap, just trying to get some heat in the tyres.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still trying to look for his lap that got him into the top 40. I'll stand by.
It was I can confirm he was out on the first lap. It wasn't off track on it. iRacing accepted the lap time but has deleted it. So I thought for half a second he might have just pulled out of the pit slate. But no, that's not to be the case. The HDS cars are going to change position and Aaron Cooper's going to get a little bit of a tow, I think, here from Timothy Russell. Although I think they're going to run out of time with minute 15 seconds on the board. It's a great opportunity to do a practice pit lane entry. Never a bad idea, Pete.
Oh, great idea. How much time can be made coming into the pits or lost at Mount Panorama?
I mean, you're speeding. If you're speeding by 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, that's a 40-second stop and hold. Oh. That's disastrous. Race done.
And I think we've all experienced maybe running a bit deep into the left as you come off the track and into the tyres, which is very slow, just to let you know.
Well, Russell will go to a 2:02.615, so the time improvement is there, but it will only improve himself 1 spot further up the grid from the 2030 previously held. Might have actually fallen back to 24th, so he's up to 22nd, and with the fastest of the pre-qualifying drivers yet to come, he might be finding himself right at the back end of the 40. Another car on their way into pit lane, practicing themselves a pit stop. Gilliam went very quick across the top as well. So he might have himself the slimmest of margins to get this lap in. He's on the hammer. He's got 10 seconds to get back to the start-finish line. He's going to do it in perfect amount of time. What's the time going to be? No faster for Andrew Gilliam. He will have to live with a 2-minute 2-minute.786, slower by just over a tenth of a second. And then Holiday on the way back to the pit lane. Again, another car utilizing the opportunity to practice the pit lane entry.
Nice, that was good. Well done to get around there and get that lap in.
Had to go hard, very, very hard on cold tyres. I was worried for him.
Well, that's what it's about, you know. It favours those that can drive fast on cold tyres and keep it on the black stuff for the opening couple of laps with these cars. And there's a lot of fast guys up there and a lot of big names in this 40 car series. So you're going to need to be pretty quick out there and quickly.
A big welcome, ladies and gentlemen, out there watching along from the Speedcafe Facebook page. It's an absolute pleasure to have you along for the ride. If you're new to sim racing, this is iRacing. This is the mountain rendered in all its glory, laser scanned in. The current crop of GT3 cars available to our drivers include the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, which finished first and second at the mountain this year. The BMW GT3 M4, Ferrari Evo GT3, and the Porsche Evo GT3, and I think the Lamborghini is the other one that we have available to us here on the server for your viewing pleasure here tonight.
And Tim was a 2:02.200 for his initial qualifying times.
So actually right about where he was in the end, but he was a second down on that first lap. That's why I was a little bit disappointed. I thought he was better than that, and I was proved right by that second lap. I was disappointed in Truss. Truss, if you're listening, no offense, mate.
Well, remember, you really need to get a lap down. So if you're a little slow lap, still better than no lap, and it's starting from the back of the grid. So, mind you, in the middle of the pack's certainly going to be interesting tonight. And we've got a little bit of gamesmanship happening on Conrod Straight. Everyone's heating their tyres, getting ready to have a real crack. We've only got 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, so for the viewers out there on Facebook that are maybe not necessarily acquainted with iRacing and the GT3 platform, it's a great opportunity, Peter, to sort of go across some of the cars, some of the changes. I mean, V8 supercar, they're big, they're heavy, they've got lots of speed, but the differences, I think the key differences here is all to do with that downforce.
Yeah, these cars are much faster across the top of the mountain, and super quick up and down the hill. Mountain Straight and Conrod Straight certainly fast, especially if you've got a nice tow from a couple of cars in front, but they really make their time up from Griffins into the cutting across the top of the hill and exiting the elbow. And like any car, it's very important to have a fast exit at Forest Elbow.
Well, they won't quite reach the same peak speeds down Conrod Straight. The acceleration's not necessarily there. They'll make it in different ways as well. The other thing is they're quite renowned for very cold tyres at the moment. Pirelli came out with a brand new tyre compound for this year's GT3 racing, and that has induced a little bit of a different style of racing. You would have seen it if you were watching along with the Real World Bathurst 12 Hours this year, how critical it was to bring those tyres up to temperature. But tyre wear is now a factor in the GT3 cars, and that's something we haven't seen for a number of years.
It is, and traditionally when we're running an endurance race, which these cars are well used for all around the world, your tyre change will get covered by your fuel. But tonight, you'll only need to take enough fuel to get you across the finish line. We might have 14 or 15 laps of fuel in the tank to start the race, so there'll be no taking tyres. So it'll be critical how you look after that rubber, and heating them up and slipping them around on the first couple of laps is not the most ideal way to do it. They are endurance tyres. They are built to work for a long time. You can certainly hurt them quickly.
Yeah, and GT3 stints in the real world ranging up to, I think there's been some times where they've gotten up into the excess of 90 minutes on a fuel stint. I think around the mountain about 90 minutes was about that time frame, just a little bit less than that for the viewers watching along at home. Let us know where you're watching along from. Simulator World. Our drivers coming to you right across the country. We've got drivers in Perth, in the Northern Territory, and also all along the East Coast, and even down on to Tasmania. And a few of those Victorians and Adelaide fans as well getting their way through things. And if you're down in Melbourne, let us know. Have you been to the track this weekend? Have you been watching the Formula One? And has it been a sight to see Oscar Piastri making his home Grand Prix debut this weekend? That's going to be interesting to watch on Sunday afternoon for us, Pete.
Yeah, certainly. And if you snuck a little snippet in today, we saw Jack Doohan around there, and fastest. I think he was fastest in first practice. Good to see F2 and F3 here.
All right.
And also 26 degrees. Sorry. Gone up, we're up to 26 degrees, so it's climbed up 2 degrees since the first guys went out there and put their laps down.
Yep, so they'll settle themselves in with those increase in track temperatures. Of the 40 drivers, we've now got 34 who have set a time. Simon Nicholson with a 2-minute 23. Cody Deeth, both of those drivers put in 2-minute 23 lap times on their first laps. Matthew Dencher, 2-minute 17. So I think that is all about curing the tyres appropriately, and you can see the response from Matthew Dencher's Ferrari as well. He's gone purple sector 2, sector 3, so right the way across the top for Matthew Dench. Times are starting to tumble. Times are starting to come down. Mitchison, Bilson, Flock, all of these drivers now in the final sectors to really get their first proper flying laps. We've seen one driver into the 2 minutes 7.86. So far, every other driver 2:01 or greater, and indeed 2:01.6 is currently the difference from first back to second. 275 kilometers an hour as they enter the braking zone down here for the chase. What has Matthew Dench got left underneath him? He will get one more lap in after this one. 3 minutes and 40 seconds now on the clock. Mitchison now jumps up into P number 2. He manages to put a reasonable time that'll get him all the way up there. Lachlan Capel's put in a 7:17, which is pushed into fourth. What has Matthew Dench got at the line? He goes to second place, and it's only by 300ths of a second. He's got to find some more time, and he's got one more lap to do it. Multiple drivers now coming through into the final sectors and be going fast. Kobe Deeth was right up there in the qualifying session, coming across to the line from Simon Nicholson. What's he going to be able to put down? It's the fastest time so far today, a 2-minute flat 7:08, and it seems that the big boys have come to play.
They certainly have. There's a lot of cars that are still on it that have had another lap. As you said, Matthew Dench has taken another lap. Dylan O'Shea, he's on another lap. Jared Knight's also out there on another lap. Those three guys, well, will easily get in this lap in.
Drivers still coming to the finish line at this point in time. This will be Cody Deeth to see if he can put that lap together as well. What's the time going to be from Deeth? Climbs up the leaderboard? No, I think he's actually on an outlap at this point in time. So I don't know if he'll actually get back to the start-finish line to start that lap.
Well, we've got Matthew Dench with his 08. We've got Damon Woods now with a 2-minute .955.
He's not going to get this time in. He is not going to get this time in from Kobe Deeth. So he's got to push on hard. I don't see him making the start-finish line. He's in trouble here. And Riley Bilson are on board with at the moment, not setting the sector times alight at the moment. One green sector, which means he's improved in that sector. That's his personal best of the session. And a final sector that will improve as well from Bilson. It's a 2:01.818, so lap time does improve. Only good enough for 13th best. And I think that track temperature increase you were talking about, Pete, I think it's done in a few of these drivers.
Well, we've got 12 cars in the 01s. Yeah, it's interesting. Whoops, sorry. You all right, Scott?
No, I was just about to say, have a look at the breadth of the times as well. There's a couple of drivers still trying to get their laps in at this point in time. And I think Tao Sorono is one of the other drivers who is yet to set a time. He's actually been out for 2 laps and had both laps rejected due to track limit penalties. So this one needs to count for Tao Sorono. It's not that he hasn't attempted to put a time in. It's just that he's violated the iRacing track settings.
Lachlan Capel's coming across for one more lap. He won't get another one in.
Well, he'll fire off at least on this lap. He's going to attempt to cool those tyres down with a 2-minute 20. Try and bring them in. Try and cure those tyres back down to an optimal grip setting. And Sorono, this is critical for him with 45 seconds now left on the board. There is only a smattering, a handful of drivers that are currently out there and setting times at this point in time. Kobe Deeth has just set off on his next lap. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he will be allowed to finish that one. Sorono gets to the line and jumps from dead last to 12th.
Nice. 2:01.795. Nice lap. Considering the pressure's on, 10 minutes to come out and put a 2:01 or a 2-minute flat out. It's a big demand on a driver.
Yeah, it's he's put the tyres in the optimal temperature zone. So, and that will be the end of our qualifying session, and that will leave Kobe Deeth at the tail end of the field. So one of the drivers that was at the top end of the pre-qualifying sessions will not be able to set himself a representative time in this session. Tao Sorono will manage to get that win in. So let's start to go through our starting order. And for the first round of the Speedcafe eSeries, your pole position man will be Simon Nicholson with a 2-minute 7:08. Andrew Gilliam, I think, was in group number 2. Was not even a part of our fastest pre-qualifying drivers group. Managed to get a 2:786, and Matthew Dench will round out P number 3 with Damon Woods, the last driver inside those 2-minute times. So only 4 drivers broke the 2:01 mark there, Pete.
Cody pre-qualified with a 2-minute .819, so that's a lot of time to make up there. And also Andrew was a 2:01.3.
Yeah, so Gilliam's exceptionally quick in those early stages.
Yep. So four of the 2 minutes is pretty good. A lot of cars in the 2:01s, about 12, 13 cars there in the 01s. And then we've got 20 cars in the 02s. So it's quite a big spread. Obviously, Cody Deeth had an issue and didn't really get a representative lap in. Did we see Jake Maloney out there? I'm sorry, I didn't see him.
No, Jake Maloney had issues with, I believe, entering the server and wasn't actually able to get out on the track. during the qualifying session itself. So a few bits and pieces up and down the field. Either way, he will settle himself in now, and we've got ourselves a minute left before we'll go to the gridding phase, and then the car's going to line themselves up underneath that Fuso bridge.
Well, it's time to top up your drink and maybe make yourself more comfortable. It's not long now. It's been a great turnout for the first round of this series.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome to see. Was it, you were looking at the driver entry numbers, was 150 drivers that registered
for the series? 150 registered and 86 pre-qualified.
Pre-qualified, so only 40 can make the main dance. And a big shout out to Glenn Paul watching along from New Zealand. Joins us over on the Facebook chat. Don't forget to join us and follow along at the speedcafe.com Facebook page if you're joining us from YouTube. Out on YouTube, over on Facebook, sorry, come and join us in on the YouTube chats as well. Qualifying now run and done. A few surprises, a few drivers a little bit out of place. One of the drivers I'd like to point out, we've already talked about Kobe D. I think Riley Bilson's another driver that's a little bit out of place. I thought he was a little bit higher than that in the pre-qualifying sessions, and he's
pre-qualified ninth with a 201.38.
Yeah, so he's half a second slower than his pre-qualifying lap. So 5 spots further down for him.
It was the pre-qualifying circuit was fast. So not surprising the times aren't quite there for this server. These cars work well in this temperature range, but yeah, I think the pre-quali server was just a little grippier.
It needs no introduction, ladies and gentlemen, as we'll head to the first race, the inaugural round of the Speedcafe eSeries. Thank you to everyone who's joined us so far. That was just the qualifying. You're now going to get 5 minutes of warming up as the drivers will reset themselves, realign themselves. I'm sure there'll be a few loo breaks. It's a bit of a red flag style of situation if you're coming to us from the real life racing world. Everyone sort of stands around their cars, points at things, talks to somebody standing beside them, but mostly it's about get your game face on.
Yep, definitely. As we said, Mount Panorama Bathurst is round 1 of this is a 10-round series. Next, we're off to Road America in 2 weeks' time, be followed by Phillip Island. Then we're off to Sandown. We'll head to Imola, Enzo Dino Ferrari Autodrome, off to Barcelona in Catalunya. Then we'll go to Montreal for the great Jules Villeneuve circuit. Then off to the Red Bull Ring. Scott, you get dressed up for the Red Bull Ring, isn't that what we do?
Yeah, that's it. You've got to go mad for the Red Bull Ring.
Your big barrel on and your big boots and your funny looking hat.
I thought that was for Circuit of the Americas.
You just change your flag, I think. And we're off to Watkins Glen, back to America, and then we're off Spa. Round 10 will be Spa, Francorchamps on the 20th of July.
Yeah, so circuits and choices that lead us not only right around the globe, but also through a vast differential of circuits. Normally, you would see Bathurst at the tail end of a V8 Supercars calendar, and I kind of like that it's here front-loaded for us. It's reminiscent of the Bathurst 12 hour to really kick off the Australian racing series in February. You know, it's sort of this front loading. It's get all that action, get all that excitement in. You know, it's not a bad way to start off a season.
Well, it's good considering we've come recently off the 12 hour, so we've been watching the real life 12 hour, and a lot of people have competed in the iRacing 12 hour last month. So, you know, not surprising there's some people here with some well set up cars, because there's plenty of practice went into the 12 hour from a lot of teams, and yeah, so good opportunity to get that set up back out of the garage. Great idea, Bathurst, for round 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mercedes was strong at that location. Lachlan Capel for Drop Bear Motorsports on screen at the moment. He's warming himself up, I think, with I thought it was Ashley Collins. No, it might be somebody else. It was Jake Maloney was actually getting to go toe-to-toe with at that point in time. I think just in behind him. Yeah, it was from the Trans-Tasman Racing team from Jake Maloney. And have a look at that.
Busy up now. Right.
Yeah, wall of cars up Mountain Straight as everyone's just using the opportunity just to reset themselves, go back to a cold tyre. So it's important. After you've done a qualifying lap, you just come from probably the most grip the car's going to have right throughout the race weekend. But it's important to take that step back and recognise, hey, we're lower grip now. We've got to look after this thing. We've got to get through lap 1.
look, this is a great opportunity to go back out there and center yourself with a cold tyre, go out there and drive the wheels off it, which you'll see some of these guys are doing, and it'll be like a practice start.
Controversially was named, the BMW and the Ferrari, two very different cars, both turbocharged engines, both of those guys. Very easy to sit back and enjoy the lovely V8 note, the angry, aggressive engine that is the Mercedes AMG, lovingly displayed for us by Cody Deeth here. But the differences in the engines, the differences in the looks, they're not a V8 supercar, they're very, very different, particularly these Ferraris, which are quite low slung, Pete.
They are, and very different driving styles, and brake differently. They put down they set their lap times in different parts. You know, I think the AMG is quite fast down the straights, and the Ferrari is quite good across the top of the hill. So depending on how you set up with your downforce in that car, will depend on which way you present a fast lap time in the car. I see we're having a few practice pit entries again, which is sensible because there will be a pit stop. I think we might have 14, maybe 15 laps of fuel on board.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see who's one of the early drivers to pit. Cody Deeth, I mean, at the back end of the field, surely he'll get aggressive. There's no chance in hell that he won't get aggressive. He's got a lot of ground to make up. But do you all of a sudden maybe just go for the immediate undercut? The instant that pit lane window opens, get in, get some fresh air, get back out on track, and make all the overtakes through the pit cycle.
40 cars at Mount Panorama. Who knows what might happen on the opening lap?
Well, we're going to get ourselves a few moments in and we'll find out. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Nicholson, we've already talked about him, took your pole position. Andrew Gilliam off alongside of him. Row number 2 going to be made up by Matthew Dench and Damon Woods. That puts 2 PGZ drivers on the inside run to turn number 1. Dylan O'Shea for 9.5 Sim Sports and Jared Knight, the first in HTS Racing Cars. Lachlan Capel and Luke Mitchison on row number 4. Chris Ireland for the Sim Rigs DPR team and Seth Brown off alongside of him, your top 10. Mitch McLeod and Teo Serrano for Pursuit Sim Racing make up your top 12. Well, then we'll throw it back to Henry Thomas Kircher, better known as TK to all his friends, Riley Bilson, Sebastian Van Dell and Rob Carmichael for Premier Racing Team and Pursuit Sim Racing in 15th and 16th. Kenny Konomis and Brenton Jewell, Aaron Cooper and Matthew Boylett round out your top 20. Blake Dowdall and Marion McCullen, Sebastian Flock and Lee Vanden Berger as it gets cut off by the sign writing there on the bottom right-hand corner. Matt Bailey and Rob Bowden, Josh Muggleton, Corey Bennett, Jesse Butler, Wayne Hewitt, 30 cars. There's another 10 to come, ladies and gentlemen. Ash Davis for 9.5 Sim Sport, Ray Oliver, Frogleaf Juice Racing, Ashley Collins, Simon Mazzomo, better known as Mozzarella to all these friends, Timothy Russell and Ben Holiday, Stephen Bartholomew, Cody Deeth, a long, long way down there, and Jake Maloney, the only car not to set a qualifying lap. We also have ourselves a manually driven safety car. Aston Martin Vantage GT4 will be driven by our race control team here in the server tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but it's time to start a new journey. It's the journey that is the Speedcafe eSeries. The field under control of Simon Nicholson. What's he got for us, ladies and gentlemen, on the run to turn number 1? Who is going to dominate the opening stanza here from Mount Panorama? They round the final corner. Time to get that power down, and Nicholson goes very early. He's going to get a great jump. Gilliam immediately forced to cover across to the inside, but now David Woods is going to get the run, trying to go the outside. Right around him, Matthew Dench slotted back into 4, 2 by 2 through Hell Corner for the first lap here tonight. Drivers looking to grab themselves spots up and down the field. Mitchinson's grabbed himself some spots. Serrano's up a few places. Rob Carmichael's off in the weeds, and he has dropped off of that first corner. There's multiple cars. It was 16th on the opening lap. Was another one of them that was involved. Sorry, that was Rob Carmichael. It was Henry Thomas Kircher, who was the other one that was involved in that lap 1 number incident, and Riley Bilson got himself tangled up as well. Luke Mitchison now up and inside the top 10 as the run to the cutting for the first time tonight. Simon Nicholson's already grabbed himself a small advantage. He's going to look to pop out nice and early, Pete. Not a bad idea to go hard early.
Well, he's a second out already and pulling away, but it was a clean start. I thought everyone got around there, but midfield, it looked like there was an incident coming out of turn 1. But these boys are certainly pushing hard on lap 1. Nicholson's all Gilliam to close that gap down a little bit now as we come back down the side of the hill. Obviously, it's a little sketchy here on cold tyres.
Yeah, so everyone will settle themselves down as they come down through the dipper on lap number 1. There's a few more cars that have fallen a little bit by the wayside, and unfortunately, Lee Vandenberger looks to be parked basically at the ending of the exit of the cutting on lap number 1, and will finally get himself going now all the way back down there as well. The field spread is immense. There's some damage there for Lee Vandenberger. I hope that everything's okay on his side of things. The first run down through the kick, on the way down into the chase, and around the outside, Gilliam fighting Damon Woods. They will try and settle themselves down. Gilliam gets the spot back, but Woods has not had enough of this one yet. All there, he's going to give him a little old bump draft, a little move learned from NASCAR as they run down into Murray's corner to end lap number 1. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first lap of the Speedcafe eSeries run and done, and boy was it a cracker.
Well, Nicholson's nearly pulled it out to 2 seconds with these guys fighting each other, but that certainly was a cracker. 2 and 3 fighting around.
Damon Woods has got the job done now. So it's going to be Gilliam back to 3rd place. He'll try and settle it down. And here comes Dylan O'Shea, who's going to buy into this one just a little bit as well. Quite quick, he's got the toe of everyone just ahead of him. Matthew Dench has dropped quite a few spots back down to P5. And now they're under Griffin's Bend. No one's going to bottle out. No one's going to try and shut the nose. Let's see if Damon Woods has got something for Simon Nicholson. Somebody in pit lane on lap number 1 as well, I think, is Rob Carmichael. Yeah, his car is completely, utterly bent up. Yeah.
There was quite a large incident coming out of 1 from the back half of the field. I saw a couple of cars flying off. Thankfully, most people look like they've gotten back together and they're continuing on. It's a long race. There's plenty of opportunity to get a couple of positions back. Who knows what's going to happen with fuel strategies? Let's hope people remember that they will need to stop for fuel.
Very easy to get yourself deep into a battle and all of a sudden look over and the fuel's ticked very, very low, and you might have missed out making that critical stop. Indeed, you might be out if you're not looking at it at least once or twice a lap. And look at the shot back from Brock's Skyline as all the cars file their way down on through. The one, I think, odd Lamborghini. There's only a couple Lamborghinis out there. Wayne Hewitt and Stephen Bartholomew, I think, were the only 2 that I saw. There's only a couple of Porsches out there as well, but most of the field seems to be BMWs and Ferraris.
Well, it looks like we've got the lap 1 incident up with car number 963 and car number 99's under investigation.
Righto, so they will try and keep an eye out for that one, see what they can pick up. In the meantime, Jared Knight is on the ascendancy. He's on a charge trying to get himself a little bit further through the field.
We might have car 10 under investigation from a lap 1 incident as well. We'll come back to you with that.
Yep, so multiple incidents to be reviewed. Thanks, Pete. Pete's pit lane reporter here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking to drivers up and down the field. Cable looks like he's going to get the job done there on Jared Knight. Still 6 spot away, so Lachlan Cable in the Dropper Motorsport Mercedes moves to 6th, and we'll see if he can start getting his elbows out. He might have to defend on the run up to Griffin's Bend here, although that might just be Jared Knight fuel saving just a fraction.
Well, we didn't even bring that into play. The opportunity to save a little bit of fuel, be a little bit quicker in the pits.
And I'll tell you what, Damon Woods might have something actually for Simon Nicholson. Lap time difference between those two quite close together. There's only a 201.323 for Simon Nicholson on lap number 2, 201.390 for Damon Woods. Gilliam was a 202.25. So Gilliam is all sorts of struggling, and he's going to have Dylan O'Shea immediately up and underneath his rear wing, as well as Matthew Dench immediately behind them. So the 2 PGZ drivers, 1st and 5th at this point in time, they might be playing different strategies. And Ben Holliday has received a drive-through penalty from race control. That will kick things off. And Ben Holliday was the driver of the 99 car. So that was the 963 and the 99. That was the first of the incidents that were under investigation. And that was for contact with Lee Vandenberg.
Oh, there it is.
So that was the incident up into the cutting. On
that second incident on lap 1.
It's interesting that those 2 drivers got together because Vandenberg started in 24th, and Holiday started in 36th. So it's 12 cars worth of
Wow.
difference. So Lee Vandenberg clearly got involved in the first incident for him to be that far down.
Well, I was thinking the other driver got well up there. Well done to him.
Well, there was an incident just ahead of Lee Vandenberg on the road, and that'll be Holiday firing out of the grouping to go and serve his pit stop, and a little bit of grass picked up on the way into pit lane for his troubles. They'll try and settle themselves down here. Lap number 4 started now of a 45-minute race, and it's going to be, what, about a 23-lap duration for this race here, Pete?
Yes. Do they keep this pace up? Certainly will. And we're under considering where we are, lap 3, lap 4, we're into the 201s with a couple of the drivers, plenty into the 202s. So everyone's pushing quite hard. I know we discussed there might have been a little bit of fuel saving, but those front runners don't seem to be saving too much at the moment.
No, they're going quite hard. Indeed, Damon Woods is actually going to, I think, one of the quicker drivers in the field right now. Has gone out and set a 201.296, was 0.2 of a second faster than Simon Nicholson. So he is absolutely chomping at the bit to get down and after Nicholson. We might end up with a battle for the lead in only a couple laps' time if he keeps that sort of pace up.
Well, Speedcafe is a well-known page in Australian motorsports. A lot of people have come here, and there's a lot of drivers that have turned up tonight that would like to take out round 1 and get their name at the top of the leaderboard after tonight. So I'm not surprised that they're pushing hard. I'm not surprised that we saw 150 people enter for the future series, so you can come in at any time. Obviously, if you're not here tonight, you're going to put yourself at a little bit of a deficit. But yeah, no, they're all putting it all on the table tonight.
Yep, they'll get their heads down and see what they can do. Whether or not you're capable of qualifying in, that's the next question as well. So for the drivers that don't actually make into the top splits, this is something I learned earlier on tonight, Peter. There's actually a second split. So for the drivers that don't actually qualify in to be a part of the top 40, they will get the opportunity to still go out and show their wares, but it'll be with the second group of 40 drivers, I think it is, that want to have a crack.
Yes, well, it's more open. It's there'll be no controlled fuel. I think the server can hold 60 cars for that server, and it's on tonight as well. So for those that didn't make the main game, doesn't matter. You can still have a race in the Speedcafe eSeries, but in the second split.
Yeah, so always an opportunity to get yourself involved in iRacing. It's one of those things you can get yourself involved for as little as what, $1,000–1,500 to get your PC, steering rig, everything sort of set up. That'll definitely get you at least out there and racing, and that's on the upgrades from there compared to what's a go-kart going to cost you these days, Pete?
It's a great question, but one thing I know a lot of iRacers do factor in for costs is, what would it be to go go-kart racing, let alone saloon or vehicle racing, which we all know. Well, many iRacers do. There's a lot of competitive races in the real world that come on iRacing. It's a very popular platform in Australia and around the world. If you're on some nights, you can be racing with, anyone from Rubens Barrichello to Shane Van Gisbergen. So it's quite popular, very popular in America.
Can say I've had the play. Whoa! All right, we've got the first of our incidents here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. A car has requested return to pit lane, which is going to trigger a safety car. So we're going to have an Aston Martin GT4 enter the circuit and control the pace of the field at the moment. Simon Nicholson's just going past the pit lane entry. And safety car will gather the field at pit lane exit. So he's just heading down to turn number 1 at this point in time. That is safety car there. The Speedcafe safety car will pick up Simon Nicholson immediately.
The Speedcafe Aston Martin has control of the leader at the moment up Mountain Straight.
So that's been triggered by an incident way back down in the pack between Henry Thomas Kircher and Wayne Hewitt, who are both stranded on the circuit just after the cutting. We're going to replay of what's gone on to trigger those incidents there. So that's Henry Thomas Kircher's having some sort of issue there. So this is a mile after the incident. The incident's already happened at this point. Oh, wonder whether or not it was at Griffin's. But anyway.
It was in a fairly interesting spot there to be stopped. Come around there blind, and if you're a little tight on that turn.
Oh, there it is,
the cutting.
Oh, there it is. Absolute traffic jam on the exit of the cutting. And it's such a blind corner. Oh, another car just piles in. There's no visibility for these guys whatsoever, and you're just stuck there.
Oh, they're still coming around.
And have a look at the rear end of Wayne Hewitt's car. Look at how destroyed it is.
There we go, we need to see it a little bit earlier. Oh, we're on board with him, and there's nowhere to go once he gets around here.
So he just piles into it. Well, actually, he doesn't even get into it. He manages to pull the car up nice and safely. So it's the next two cars on track. The 10 was involved in that one, which I believe was Ben Holiday, who was on a recovery drive back through the field after serving his drive-through penalty. He was one of the cars that was piled into that one. I saw Jake Maloney that was a part of that as well.
Well, pit lane will be open, I'd imagine, if not this lap, quite shortly. Is it too early to go and get some fuel?
Well, I mean, if you're at the tail end of the field, you may as well. What have you got to lose?
Yeah, 0.
So we'll keep our eyes on it. That's the safety car at this point in time. I can tell you, Henry Thomas Kircher has just managed to get his way back into the pit lane, and his front left tyre is bent like you would not believe. Look at the damage on the front. It's front left corner of his car. Camera shots right. You're going to see the interesting thing is an iRacing fast repair here in a few moments.
One fast repair in this session.
Yep. So drivers are allowed a effectively spare car, a backup car that they'll just jump straight into. They'll repair the car completely and utterly, and then they'll get the fuel filled up and be able to get going again. So CK will buy himself onto the back end of the pack. But going back to the comments you made before as well, Pete, I've actually had the pleasure of racing against Fernando Alonso.
Oh!
And actually over the off-season, I did manage to catch up with Jack Doohan. And we exchanged a few messages after racing. I think it was the Toyota 86s.
And you will get these guys on, and they'll drive a variety of different cars. iRacing's been putting a lot of content out lately, and some exciting cars and tracks. Wouldn't mind seeing the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit if anyone's from iRacing's watching tonight. Great opportunity to get down there now and scan it.
Well, they've done that with Pukekohe as well. Unfortunately, we'll be losing Pukekohe from international racing going forwards, but at least it has now been scanned and saved. Wonderful. And will be released, I think, sometime in the next year or so. People will be able to visit Pukekohe digitally. Be interesting to see how long this safety car carries on for. Some of these drivers might be able to fuel save and go to the end from here. Any of the drivers that have already pitted, so I'm looking at Ben Holiday, Timothy Russell, Riley Bilson, Lee Vandenberger, Rob Carmichael, Jake Maloney, Henry Thomas Kircher will all be able to just about get on to the end of the race from here.
Yeah, yep.
Still take some fuel saving to get home, but they're in the window.
And back to iRacing scanning circuits, things like Oran Park. You know, we can still race at Oran Park, which is a wonderful thing.
Absolute pleasure it is to race around Oran Park.
Pukekohe will disappear. We'll still be able to use it simulated.
Sandown and Phillip Island both on the service already. The scanning work has been done on the Bend Motorsports Park. I'm actually really keen to get onto the Bend and get racing around that digitally. And then Sydney Motorsport Park, I don't think will be too far behind that as well.
Oh, we need Sydney Motorsport Park for sure.
It's just got so many different layouts that suit cars like, say, a Formula Ford. I've actually driven around the Corporate Hill layout in a Formula Ford, and that was an experience to behold. Short track, a little bit choppy, not all that great for racing, but hot lapping certainly in a Formula Ford, quite fun to do.
Certainly, which iRacing has just released in the last update was the Formula Ford new to iRacing.
Yep, but they've also got a range of cars, including Formula V, the Toyota GR86. That thing is an absolute weapon to drive around. And something I've been put onto in the last sort of 12 months has been the MX-5s, Mazda MX-5 series. Have you ever seen any of the racing from the real world over at Daytona when they follow along as a support category to the Daytona 24?
And I have, and iRacing do a lot with the Mazdas. Sonoma, I think, is where their driver training school is. And a lot of MX-5 racing around there, and Sonoma, another track on iRacing on the platform, is a great track.
A very popular car, very popular car. And then, you'd think it funny, right? I come from a circuit racing background. The thing that actually got me really interested in iRacing and what it's actually based around is actually oval racing. Started out, iRacing previously used to make some of the NASCAR games. They were working on the next one and lost the contract to do it. So they went, you know what? We're just going to make our own game. We're going to release it. And that's how iRacing started. And I believe it released back in
2002, 2003?
2003 was the last one that came out.
And
NASCAR 2003 has been still lovingly looked after by the fans of the game and still out and around. You can still... I've managed to broadcast a NASCAR 2003 race last year.
Looks like the safety car's coming in. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, it is. So we will be back to green at the end of this lap. And yep, for the fans watching along at home, NASCAR racing, it's door-to-door racing. Very, very interesting. If you love watching overtaking moves, you might think it's a little bit boring turning left the whole time. Not the case. You're constantly racing somebody, just about. Right, the rundown of the chase. Simon Nicholson has control of the field. Safety car has now entered pit lane, and he will be in control. We'll see when he goes. Backing the field up just a little bit at this point in time.
Well, I don't think there's going to be any overtaking until the control line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I'm just worried a little bit further down in the field to see how backed up they get at this point in time. Somebody's dived out of the chain. Someone is going to pit lane.
Oh, he's going to take a second or two.
I think that's Jared Knight. That's just entered pit lane. So he will come in and he will fill that car up and he should be good to go to the end of the race at this point in time. Somebody quite slow off the last corner. Aaron Cooper's coming to pit lane. Pit lane is actually busy. Incredibly busy at this point in time. Somebody got a very poor start way back down there next to that BMW and that Ferrari as they come up towards the camera and Mountain Straight. Now there's going to be a race on for the lead as well. I think Damon Woods has got it. There's a lead change. The BMW of Damon Woods now leads the motor race.
Wow, great move. They all got a really good restart, so that was a good move. That BMW's fast up Mountain Straight. Just got him as he gets into Griffins. Textbook move.
He will now lead us across the top for the first time, and now he'll be hunted down by two eager Beaver Ferraris of Andrew Gilliam and Simon Nicholson. Matt Dench has managed to make his way back up to P4, and Cable will now assume P number 5 as well. Dylan Shea was 5th place when the lap started, and he has gone absolutely missing. He's in trouble. He's that Ferrari that's got issues. That is the Ferrari that we saw that was hanging out and around the left-hand side of the road. Massive issues for Dylan Shea. He's gone from 5th place at the start of the lap, and he's got no pace whatsoever. He's back about 39th position at the moment. He's just rejoined the tail of the chain. Yeah, so he's in massively dire straits. The car's just not accelerating. He's got no drive.
You've got no drive. He's still slow into Forest Elbow, and they're pulling away from him.
There's no way he's fuel saving that much. There's no way.
Damon Woods has pulled away nicely down to finish off this lap, lap 8, 25 minutes to go.
Yep, so Woods will assume control of the field now, and now it's going to be the job of the Ferraris to get down here after that BMW of Damon Woods. Lachlan Capel will lead the first of the Mercedes, and have a look at Mitch McLeod, who's made his way. I think he started 11th, Mitch McLeod, up into P number 6. One of the big gainers at the front end of the field, Sebastian Varndell from 15th to 10th, Matthew Boylett 20th to 11th. Kobe Deeth has made his way to P13 after that abysmal qualifying effort. Whatever happened for Kobe Deeth, 38th to 13th. We'll take that any day of the week.
Nice drive. We haven't seen much of him, but he's just gone in he's up to another position, into 12th.
Yep, no worries about that one. Deeth will just slide it down the inside of Griffith, and that will be Brenton Jewell will just make way for it. Didn't fight that one too hard. Recognised that Deeth was on a charge and let him go by the wayside. Chris Ireland is doing reasonably well, up 2 spots into 7th at this point in time. Seth Brown was quick early on in that qualifying session as well. Teo Sorono and Sebastian Vandel are the back end of your top 10 at this point in time. But there's a whole bunch of drivers who've thrown a card out there by going for that alternative pit strategy. What has happened to Dylan O'Shea, though? I need to see. He's just rejoined the race circuit after coming down pit lane. And it looks like he might actually have drive back again. So whatever the issue was has now resolved itself for Dylan O'Shea, but he's currently sitting 39th on the racetrack and last.
A hardware issue, possibly?
Potential. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it was a shifting issue. Maybe he was stuck in gear.
No certain issues for Mr. Woods. Damon's out in front and pulled out to 1.4 as he comes into the chase.
Yeah, so he'll settle himself down and continue to control this pack. He's got everything under control.
Oh, it was under control. He's gone a little wide. Remember, 20 incident points will have you having a drive-through. iRacing does measure those, so if you put a couple of wheels off the track or you brush a wall, there's a chance you get an incident, or if you have a contact with another car, you get a certain amount of incident points. So once you reach 20...
So for the fans that are watching along at home that aren't used to the iRacing platform, talk a little bit through that system, because it's quite important.
Well, any incident you have when you're running with iRacing is measured by the boundaries of the simulator, and they add up. So the team for the Speedcafe eSeries have put a number on it. You know, Bathurst is certainly a tricky track, and it's easy to run a wheel off over a ripple strip and grab an incident point. So yeah, you put a wheel off the track, it's usually an incident point. You brush a wall, you may or may not get an incident point. You hit a wall and you may get an incident point or 2 added. Major contact with the vehicle could be 2 to 4 incident points. Those guys that got caught up in the cutting, I'm sure they got a couple of incident points. So if you reach 20 points, much like a driver's license, and you reach a certain amount of points, you'll get penalised. In the system tonight, you'll be given a drive-through penalty if you receive 20 incident points, and then every 10 incident points after that will be right out sideways at McPhillip. He's still trying to get control.
Josh Muggleton had a wild ride in the dirt across the top of Skyline. And that was just an absolutely, utterly wild ride. So Dylan O'Shea, I went back and had a look at his pit stop. We'll get the replay in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So this is the ride that Muggleton has. He exits the Forest Elba and down to the Conrod Straight, up over the grate. Now I'll turn it in, try and get some balance going, and he's just not got any grip at the front end of that car. Just pushes wide. Maybe a little bit too much jandor, as the Kiwis might say.
And the land would have picked up an incident point for that, I'd imagine.
It all adds up at the end of the session, so you've got to be clean. That's what the system's designed to do, ladies and gentlemen at home. It's designed to be a self-policing system that at least tries to hold drivers to a standard. Kobe Deeth on the attack once again, past Sebastian Vandel and into P number 10, so he's pushing on. And now here comes Brenton Jewell, another one of the HCS racing cars who'll dive his way into pit lane in that BMW.
I think he was in about P14 when he came in.
Yes, he was up just around the fringes of the top 10. Be interesting to see what the guys who managed to grab themselves some clean air and haven't had to fight too hard.
Do we know who the first of those vehicles is, who's had their pit stop? Who are the leaders that have pitted?
Well, I can tell you 30th place is definitely which was Jared Knight. At this point in time, the drivers who have pitted but are on the very back end of the chain are Riley Bilson and Rob Carmichael. So everyone from Jake Maloney backwards, even Jake Maloney, I think, might have, Jake Maloney's pit was on the back end of that train. So the first driver who has pit, and at least I'm certain will make the end of the race at this point in time, is going to be Jared Knight in 30th place. And everyone behind him has already completed a pit stop. There are cars from 29th through to about 22nd who have taken a transit through pit lane. Rob Bowden's the lead of those drivers in 21st. All of those drivers have transited pit lane at the end of lap number 6. They came out of pit lane. They will be fuel saving to some degree, but have a chance to make it. It's going to be very tight on fuel for those drivers.
And Scott, I'm sorry if I sound a little distant in the background here. My iRacing crashed about 3 laps ago and I've been trying to reset it unsuccessfully for some reason. So,
At this point in time,
sorry for disrespecting for the drivers. It's hard to search for the first names. So yeah, it's a little slow and a little distracted. I don't think I can get iRacing back up again. It's usually the platform's usually very good and there's not a lot of issues, but technical issues back here. As we're watching a pass down Conrod.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? Have you tried pumping the brake pedal? Have you tried flooring the accelerator? Did you fill the thing up with fuel before you got in?
Next is Control-Alt-Delete.
Ash Davis is having a heavy battle here. I think with Simon Mazzone was actually fighting with. And now, have a look behind him as Tim Russell and Rob Carmichael go toe-to-toe on the run down to Murray's corner. It's going to be Russell that comes out on top at this point in time, but now they're dodging and weaving. Contact made. I think that was Jake Maloney that was down the inside, 3 wide on the run into Hill corner. They all managed to sort themselves out, or do they? Maloney's got the spot at this point in time, and here comes Carmichael. The Ferrari-powered car trying to get that turbo wound all the way up. And it's the run to Mountain Straight. He'll have the inside line all the way to Griffin's Bend. Maloney's in trouble here. He's defended the inside of the road, pinched him off, eventually comes away with the spot. And it's going to be Rob Carmichael that goes from assaulting Timothy Russell for P24 back to P26.
Power of the AMG up Mountain Straight. A bit of a side draft from Ferrari, but he couldn't do it. Rob is fueled, so he is right to go till the end.
All right, so both drivers will get their heads down at this point in time, much like our race leader, Damon Woods, who's pulled out 1.5 seconds on Simon Nicholson. This time, Andrew Gilliam has been able to go with Nicholson, so he's only half a second further back, and Dench is with those guys about the same distant as well. And there's a little bit of a gap then back to P number 5 in Lachlan Cable, not quite receiving the effects of the draft of the cars ahead. And Mitch McLeod also not receiving the effects of the draft in behind him. So that's your top 6 at this point in time.
Mitch has done well, as we said. He started in the teens, or in the, I think, 12th maybe, and he's up in the 6th spot. It's a good little battle pack coming there. There's a few cars all around. Slipstreaming behind Mitch, and a couple more here. These two are flying behind them.
Yep, so Mitch McLeod in 6th place, all the way back to 17th. There's just about no gap on the road. There's a couple of tiny ones. More cars starting to fire down into pit lane. Don't hate this decision from these guys either. There's going to be Matthew Boylett and Blake Dowdall, the first 2 of those guys. I don't think there's anyone else that's actually going to be coming down pit lane with them. It's just the 2 of them. And we'll see where they feed out, because this will be quite important. Just having a look at how close to the rest of the field they are. This could be a master stroke of strategy from Jared Knight, because on that opening lap after a safety car restart, Peter, everyone's fighting, everyone's scrapping for position.
Was he jacked up taking tyres then?
He was on the jacks. He was indeed on the jacks. Good spot. We'll have to keep an eye back in and see whether or not there was tyres. Boylett is still in the booth. Boylett was still in the pit bay, so he has definitely taken tyres.
Yep. Oh, and here we go. Mitch McLeod.
Mitch McLeod defending from Chris Island, who will just barely tag the wall underneath the gum tree. That was bravery from the simrigs.com.
Still
entry.
On.
Now he's going to try and go down the inside of McPhillamy as they try to go too wide across the top. McLeod is struggling on the tyres at this point in time. Now he'll be forced to find his way in. And here comes hungry Cody D, who'll be keen to pick off a few more spots.
Oh, Cody Dean's been flying. It's been a great comeback from a fairly average, very average qualifying position. Just doing a great job.
And now it'll be interesting to see how these guys play the long run down Conrod Straight. 3 cars, all in a draft train. 2 Mercedes, 1 BMW. Has Deeth got the legs in that Mercedes that he needs to get down the inside of Chris Island as they get to the kink? The chopper cam will follow us all the way down, pulls alongside, goes deep down into the chase, parks it on the apex, and makes it P number 7.
Nice move, great pass. Another textbook pass from him. Deep under brakes, clean, very good. And watch out, Mitch, because Cody Deeth's the next one in his in front of him on the circuit.
Well, Rob Carmichael's just been issued a bump and run penalty. So bump and run, obviously tagging somebody's rear bumper, just unsettling their car a little bit, then they can't take the apex at the corner, and that's how he grabs the spot. Rob Carmichael.
Coming in for his drive-through.
Yep, serving that penalty this lap, wants to clear it straight away. So in all of that chaos, where did Boylett come out? Was it Boylett? Was it Bilson?
Yeah, it was. No, it's Matthew Boylett is who we're looking at.
So Bilson has managed to come out about 9.5 seconds up the road from Jared Knight. So did get that stop in and get that one out of the way. And Boylett has come out at the tail end of all the cars that have completed their stops already. And Riley Bilson's actually already starting to hunt down that next battle pack of cars up ahead who have the potential to go to the end of this race here. So if he tags up onto the back end of these guys, and these guys are fuel saving, he'll need to get aggressive very, very quickly.
So yes, so Wilson didn't take tyres, he took fuel, and Boylan took tyres, and I guess that just proves it was not a great idea.
Not a great idea for a sprint format race. Whoa! Rob Bowden is trying to get a little bit of the wall paint on the slide of his Ferrari.
17th position, he's had a stop. Rob was in an incident at the cutting earlier. He was one of those cars impacted. Although safety car should have bunched him back up a bit.
And has it? It's reorganised everything. He's back to 17th now. Potentially as well. I mean, if he's been fuel saving, if he's in a great little spot here and he's been able to save some fuel, he will have 6 laps better fuel mileage than our race leaders.
Whoa.
But he'll be on the edge of making it work. And now Kobe Diesel fired on the inside, and Mitch McLeod makes contact with Chris Ireland. McLeod opts to go straight down pit lane, and now Ireland's going to have to defend from, I think it was Seth Brown, and immediately behind him. So this battle will continue on.
Well, that was exciting. Into the chase, out of the chase.
All kinds of sideways.
There was all cars, all kinds of sideways. Possibly even right out there.
right out there, all kinds of sideways. Well, Deeth is going to make it a pit 6 spot now. That's a phenomenal drive. 38-6. Safety car assisted, sure.
Yes, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Still, he's got to make those moves, and if there's any incidents that happen in those opening laps, he's got to dodge them too.
He doesn't, and the passes we've seen have been tidy, been very clean. Did I hear that he's a Williams eSport driver?
He did indeed. It's right there on screen at the moment. Been watching the Williams eSports.
Williams eSports, sorry.
Yep, Williams eSports drivers in the NASCAR series didn't have a great round at the Milwaukee Mile. They were looking to make a little bit better performance the next round. I think they did. I think it was Michigan was the following round after that one for the NASCAR world of things.
Jensen Button there.
No, he was at the NASCAR on the weekend, wasn't he, from Circuit of the Americas?
Circuit of the Americas, yes he was.
As was Gunther Steiner in the commentary box. That was interesting. Yeah, when the world of NASCAR and Formula One collides, anything can happen. Quite often does. Kimi Räikkönen actually enjoyed a drive on the weekend from Circuit of the Americas in a NASCAR. Wasn't pleased with the way late race NASCAR conduct plays itself out. Back to the head of the field now, as we'll keep our eyes on the battle between Andrew Gilliam and Matthew Dench. So he's in a little bit of a PGC sandwich at this point in time. Did I just see a few of these drivers firing off the pit lane? Indeed, I did. Whoa. Matt Dench was fuel saving in that opening stanza of the race, and he will go 1 lap further than these guys.
So we're getting down to 10 minutes to go, lap 16. Maybe 5 laps to go.
Well, that'll work perfectly if you're Rob Bowden, because, well, that's how long after the leaders he did actually pit.
Here comes Rob Bowden. Speak of him.
So it'll be interesting to see where he feeds back out in comparison to our race leaders at this point in time. There was a lot of smoke at the pit lane entry just then. Somebody went quite deep. He's actually cleared Damon Woods. And it was Josh Muggleton who was around, so he's having a horrendous night in that Porsche, not sticking on its way across the top. So if Rod Bowden can make it to the end on fuel, he's got the effective race lead, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
My word, that'll be a stunning drive from Bowden.
We were Damon Woods is close to him though. And we've got Holiday in quite close, so that next little battle, look at this, the battle packs.
I can tell you, he's massively out of the gas. He is fuel saving. He is massively fuel saving as Rob Bowden. He's going to be tight. He can do this. He absolutely can do this. That'll be a stunning
Luke
drive.
Mitchelson using all the circuit.
All the circuit a little bit more. He paid for the walls. He may as well run up against them.
Well, we've got to thank, I guess we should thank the Bathurst City Council for putting a bit of asphalt in there. It used to be grass back in the day when you run off the track. You wouldn't want to go that wide. Seen some big incidents there over the years.
That was a smart decision, I think, in everyone's safety interests. And have a look at Nicholson now. He's got another conundrum because he's fed back out in the middle of traffic. David Woods is right on the rear bumper of Rod Bowden already, so that one's already starting to fire up. But this is where the guys who are on differing pit strategies really get in the way and might mess things up just a little bit for Simon Nicholson. He's got Ray Oliver and Ben Holliday in and around him at this point in time. Both of those drivers pit all the way back on lap 5, exited pit lane on lap number 6. They're a threat to make it to the end of the race. So this is for effective position. He might have been P number 2 at the end of the last lap from Simon Nicholson, but he's got to make these moves count. Deep in under brakes into the chase. Ray Oliver's the driver. He's trying to hold off. He'll get the move done on Ray Oliver. Here comes Simon Nicholson though now, up to P number 6. But have a look through the rear view mirror because there's going to be a few more drivers that'll tag themselves on the back end of this chain that were previously in our lead pack. Cody Deeth will be among those as well. And after he makes his pit stop, and have a look at the awesome battle that we've now just got in our street. And Matthew Dench is now pitted and come back out. He will clear his teammate. He resurfaces immediately in behind Rob Bowden.
And this is the race now. This is the race. Woods got both exiting the chase just as we finished that last lap. So, and those guys who just came in for their pit stops, you know, it's only 20 seconds you sit in there, but it gives your tyres a little bit of cooling when these guys who pitted 10 laps ago.
I can tell you, I think Luke Mitchelson is going to make the end of the race as well. He's still out there at this point in time. We've got 8 minutes left, I think, on the in-game clock at this point in time.
4-2.
Yeah, so very close. It's going to be very, very tight. Massive lift from Luke Mitchelson up through and over Skyline at this point in time. Big lift.
Lap time was last lap?
His last lap time is a 202.923.
Wasn't lifting too much, I guess.
So still quite a bit of pace there. Well, I mean, his qualifying time is 201.5. So he was pushing on quite hard during qualifying. He's over a second and a half off his qualifying time. At this point in time, Damon Woods is the next car on the road behind him. His previous lap time was his pit time, which was a 2 minutes and 30-second lap. And he was just before that did a 201.031. So 1.9 seconds a lap. Yeah.
And there we go. And look at how long everyone was stationed, or the pit lane transition in the pit and being stationary. We've got a few at 57 seconds. The fastest looks about a 43.9 maybe.
So Mizomo and Bilson are the two at 57 seconds. So they might have taken tyres early on, and they will have a little bit of tyre life as Nicholson will finally get that job done. He's been held up by Ben Holliday for the better part of the lap. Now gets that one cleared and will set his sights forward. But that might just about have ruined his race. And here comes Matthew Dench as he starts to close in. Now on the rear bumper of Rob Bowden. And this will be effective P2 at this point in time as well. Gilliam's trying to get the job done. Will clear it now Ray Oliver. And now his next target is going to be Jake Maloney. And have a look at the fighting down into the final corner here as well as Brenton Jewell tries to slice it down the inside of Rob Carmichael, gets that move done as well. Some spots dicing, slicing and changing all the way up and down the field at this point in time. With 6 minutes on the in-game clock, contact at turn number 1 between Matt Bailey and Rob Carmichael. He is stranded in an awkward place from Matt Bailey. He'll have to rescue that one. He's going to lose 4 spots by the time they're done with this one. Make it 5, make it 6, probably going to lose 7 by the time they get to Griffins.
Well, interesting to see if it was contact or he put a wheel on the grass back there, but end result, backed at P27 it looked like. And interesting, the fastest guy in the pit lane was Cody Deeth.
Ooh, very interesting that one, because that means he was fuel saving. He was cut through the pack, has not burned anywhere near as much fuel as the rest of the pack. At this point in time, Deeth sits 13th after the pit stops. Whole host of cars that pit early on that are ahead of him at this point in time. So huge contact going down over Skyline, and the track just about jammed as they come down over through the S's. There's about 4 or 5 cars off here. Ray Oliver's just trapped in the barrier. The thing is crushed in, and that has definitely got a huge amount of left rear corner damage. My word, we're going to have to get a replay on what happened there.
Well, 4 minutes to go. I think Ray might be effectively calling to just be removed. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, Mitchison's still got the lead at this point in time. 3 seconds. It's critical what's going on here. So
Well,
this is the cars cutting their way through the field. So that's the incident. And then Ray Oliver's got down the end here, and the left rear corner of that car is absolutely broken. Camber damage, huge amounts of it. So Lachlan Capel's coming.
Oh, it's already happened in front of them.
It's been Maloney. Capel had nowhere to go. There was a big check-up from Ray Oliver. It was the car up ahead of them as well. Capel's just got caught in it.
Yeah, there's a secondary incident down here as we go into the dipper.
Who was the car that was ahead of them as well? Was that... it wasn't Sorono, was it? No, it wasn't. It was another Merc. I think it might have been Matt Bailey. No, it wasn't. Matt Bailey was the other car that we saw around on that lap. Might have been...
Damon Woods has been catching Mitchinson at about 3 seconds a lap. So he's going to be on. Here he is. There he is, just coming out of the cutting.
Yeah, well, 3 minutes on the clock. It's going to be tight. We don't even know that Luke Mitchison's going to make the end of the race just yet either. That's not confirmed.
Well, he's driving smoothly. He's using all the road. Not quite sure what his last lap was, but he's down to 1.5 now, and it's dropping quickly, so he's fuel saving.
Yeah, he's massive.
Yeah.
He's out of the gas there. You can just see the time just get eaten up.
Yep, it comes to the time now, like, well, I might not win, but you know, I still could get a podium.
Oh, I'll take a top 5 if I'm Luke Mitchison. Because there's a huge gap in there behind Simon Nicholson as well.
And points all the way down to 40 in this series.
So it's important. This will be a huge finish and a huge coup for Luke Mitchison to grab a bag of points from fighting, scrapping about down in the weeds further down the field. Actually was qualified in 8th. Had to come to pit lane for damage. I think he would have been caught up in that tangle at the cutting early on, and was one of the cars that came to pit lane just after that. So...
Oh.
Yep, not even fighting it. Not even
around the outside.
An attempt to fight, and I think that says right there how desperately Mitchison is saving that fuel.
Well, it'd be nice to tuck in and get a bit of a tow. It's going to help a little bit. Matthew Dench, though, he's the next one coming around. He's been catching him fairly quickly too. There he goes.
Ben Holiday was the car I was thinking of, actually. It was Ben Holiday was the Merc that was actually the head of that incident. Was the Merc that I was facing in the wrong direction.
Matthew Dents is pushing. He wants that second position.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's right there. It's on the taking. There's a lot of fuel saving being done by Mitchinson at this point in time.
I think Rob Bowden's doing a bit, but he's doing well. 4th position's great for him. Simon Nicholson in 5, another great. That's well. There's still a lap and a half to go.
Yep, so still a fair way to go at this point in time. Across the start-finish line, I think there's 2 laps left here. For sure. For sure there'll be 2 laps left here to go. I don't think that they're going to get back to the start-finish line. This lap will receive the checkered flag. And at this point in time, I think they're deep enough into the lap.
Yeah, no, there'll be at least one more after this for sure.
So 2 laps is the distance that Mitchinson's got to make. And Rob Bowden at this point in time still hanging on to P4. Might have turned the fuel mix up just a little bit. Might have a little bit more fuel to play with. He was saving aggressively earlier on. But now he's got Simon Nicholson crawling all over him in the PGZ Ferrari.
Just trying to have a look at where those 2 pre-qualified or qualified.
Well, I mean, for Rob Bowden, 26 was the grid spot for Rob Bowden. That's a phenomenal. I mean, if he takes,
he's done a great job.
Yeah, if he takes 5th place points out of this, because there's a huge gap here behind Simon Nicholson. If he takes that, that's a gain of 21 spots. And indeed, Nicholson's already gone. So fuel saving galore from Rob Bowden.
Dench and Mitchinson into the chase. There's a pass on there. Dench has got around him.
Yeah, Dench has got the job done, and Mitchinson's there. So Damon Woods, oh my word, look at the lift. Look at the lift. They just come under the bridge, and then all of a sudden it's like Matthew Dench turned the my word, Cody Deeth.
Cody Deeth.
What's going on there?
Oh, who's that? Watch out. Oh, that car is broken.
That is absolutely bent. Absolutely bent. That car's day is done. After what was a phenomenal drive up until that point, was deep inside the top 10.
Did we see the start-finish guy with his white flag? I do not know.
I don't know. I'll go back and have another look for you. So flagman Barney was indeed waving the white flag.
So we're on the final lap.
This is
we're
the
down to
final
0.
lap of the journey.
Lap 21.
So Rob Bowden and Luke Mitchison still inside the top 5, and that is Sebastian Varndell out in the weeds, and a car that is completely and utterly crab walking its way down Mountain Straight. He's going to have to get off the circuit in time. There's no way he makes it back to pit lane.
Damon Woods out in front.
Aaron Cooper's off as well, so that might be the one that's involved Sebastian Varndell. And there was another car off
There was a car deep
at turn 1.
There was a car deep down the runoff area.
Deep place, I think it was
Matthew Dench in 2.
So Varndell is going to try and crab walk that car. At this point in time, he's only got 2 more cars let by, and it will be the last car on that lap. So the track will be clear in behind him.
Luke Mitchinson may be able to do this.
Dench has managed to grab Luke Mitchison, but now it's going to be Simon Nicholson's job to try and reel that car back in. Pitted on lap number 5, 16 laps the journey, the longest stint that any of these drivers have just been about able to do here tonight. He's taken it a very, very long way as Luke Mitchison, and that checkered flag cannot come any sooner for him. I think he's even turned that fuel mix back up. I think he's got excess fuel. He's pushing, he's stayed with Matt Dench on this final lap, closes up just a little bit. But Damon Woods is going to be the hero here, and another car parked against the fence. On the left-hand side, there was Jared Knight, who had his night ruined late on. So it'll be Woods followed by Matthew Dench, and Luke Mitchison will round out your podium in P number 3. Andrew Gilliam will get home in 5th. Simon Nicholson was 4th. Rob Bowden dropped to 6th on that last lap.
Great job, though, for Rob. He did really well. Had a big incident. A little bit of help from the safety car, but certainly drove well.
And Maloney will get home in 7th as well. There's another car that did that fuel-safe strategy as well. Riley Bilson, Chris Ireland, Lachlan Capel gets home in 10th. Tao Sorono in 11th. And Kenny Konomos, Brent Jewell.
Rob Carmichael in 16th.
My word.
That's pretty good. Interesting. The drivers have to make their data available for race control too. So be interesting having a bit of a sift through that and seeing what their fuel usage was in those last couple of laps.
Yeah, who did have fuel left to burn, who turned the mix back up again. But Luke Mitchison, I think that's the driver of the night right there.
Where did Luke qualify? Sorry, as I said, my iRacing dropped out. So he did, yeah, because I was going to say...
My apologies. That was Rob Bowden was 26th, and I thought that driver was immense. Mitchison was 8th.
Okay, because he initially...
in those lap 1 incidents, so...
Yep, initially he was actually, pre-qualifying was 27th fastest, so... He drove just solid effort, solid drive. Bad luck for Cody Death. He was flying.
Oh my word. Yeah, he was. I mean, I want to see the replay. What happened to Death? So
here it is.
Here, and then just stays in the gas and bounces off the curb.
Into the Paul Radisich wall, Nelly. Well, lucky no one here. Well, next car to come down actually had to go the inside on the grass to get around him, but he's very lucky there was no one following him. Lucky for them.
Oh, look at the damage to that left rear tyre, though.
That hard.
Oh, yeah. He hit that so hard. That thing has been all out of shape.
That looks like a Newlon Chevrolet from yesterday.
We will have the ability. This is another angle. This will show the wall that he hit and the impact angle.
Oh. Send him airborne. We're literally flying.
Well, that's the thing. When you hit the grass, you've got the opportunity to lift. He didn't lift.
He didn't lift. He hasn't been lifting all night. I don't think he was very happy starting at the back of the pack. Certainly drove his way through. Made himself known. The passes we saw were all quite clean.
My word, that was an insane race. And that's what happened at the final corner.
Oh.
It triggered a few different. Oh. That might have been Jared. That was Jared Knight's stricken car that's on the left there. That's triggered everything that's going on here, including Mitch McLeod was involved in that one. Look at the cars trying to avoid on the run of the hell corner. This is the last lap.
Yeah, they're just starting the last lap. Yes, those cars. That's their last lap. Oh, and that's where all the cars that were impacted going up Mountain Straight were from there.
That's it. Yep. I mean, Sebastian Varndell, you saw it. That's the impact.
Mitch McLeod, hang on to it.
Trying to avoid it, and that's Sebastian Varndell.
Oh, 3 teammates. Impacted 3 of them from the same team.
Oh, and I think Mitch McLeod's just trying to grab where he's going. He's trying to dodge somebody else there. My word. It all kicked off on that final lap of the race. That was insane.
fairly tidy race, all in all. A little bit of an incident on lap 1, but certainly throughout the race, once we had the safety car restart, it was quite clean, as you say, until that last sort of lap and a half when everyone's pushing hard, everyone's right at the end, low on fuel, hot tyres, over-pressured tyres. The track's gotten a bit warm. I'm not quite sure what the track temperature finished up at.
Finished at 35 Celsius, so the track did keep quite warm there in the late on pieces. All right, we will take the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to start talking to our podium. So if we can grab Luke Mitchinson, and we'll have a chat with him if we can. And we'll move on with the night. But thoughts on the night, Pete? This is round number 1 of the Speedcafe eSeries.
Awesome. The look, little 40 cars around Mount Panorama on cold tyres. You know, I think when the last 12-hour I did, the track was blocked from car 14 back to car 50. These guys did very well. A lot of fast guys. Everyone wants to take advantage of the first round and you know, it's televised, so they all like to look good on television. But clean. It was a good, clean race. Lots of passing, lots of smart driving. Came down to a bit of strategy at the end. It wasn't just wait till you're nearly out of fuel and or you know, safety car opportunity. I'd like to see, you know, we saw about 10 cars pull into the pits after as the safety car was getting ready to go, so that was quite a sensible move.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was an interesting race in terms of the strategy perspective as well. I like that piece of it, and the driver that we've managed to finally grab a hold of. So we'll grab Luke Mitchinson here, and we'll manage to have a quick chat with him as well. Luke, that was an interesting race from go to woe. Obviously, something happened in the early stages of things that we weren't quite able to grab a piece of. But the important bit of that race was the strategy call. You made the call early that you were going to make it stick, and you had to fuel save early. It just does not work. If you start going hard and then you try and fuel save, you go backwards, not forwards.
Yeah, definitely. I can't really take much credit for that. It was all Tyler helping me out. He's spotting for me, feeding me numbers the whole race. Yeah, I was just following him, really.
Yeah, well done, Luke.
Mate,
that's what it takes.
In terms of things, obviously, there was no fighting any of the leaders when they got to there late on in the piece. It was just sort of trying to stick with it and looking at those fuel numbers. Were you certain you were going to be able to make it there? Obviously, the last lap, you turned the mix up. The pace came up quite a bit on that last lap, but the laps before that, were you sweating just a fair bit?
Yeah, definitely. It ended up, saving too much, which is a bit annoying. I could have been fighting for second there, but P3, I'm still very happy with that.
If at the end of lap number 1 and you find yourself outside the top 20 and scrapping for bits and pieces, if I'd have told you at the end of the night you would be sitting on the podium, with the heart would have sank a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's risen back up to this beautiful spot where we are now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't really even drive these cars very much, so that's a pretty mega result for me, I think.
And then finally, mate, your opportunity to thank the sponsors that make it all possible for you.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost is Gutter Knight Logan, JTIT Computer Consulting, the Electrical and Solar, and the Race and Oz Forum sponsors as well.
Congratulations, mate, and picking up that podium for the first round of the Speedcafe series, mate. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Well done, Luke. Good job.
Moving on now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll speak to Matt Dench, who brings it home in P number 2. Dench, it looked early on in the early stages as if Simon was pushing out very hard. Was the goal early to split the two strategies? We was talking to each other about the fuel numbers. I know that you play this fuel game quite a lot. Simon tends to prefer to go as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah, Simon just tried to run away with that because Damon had a car ahead, like in between them. So yeah, Simon just pushed to try and get a good gap before Damon could break away. And yeah, I just started saving straight away from the start and just tried to follow those guys. And then that safety car sort of threw a spanner in the works of Simon, so that screwed him over a little bit. But it played into my favour. I almost jumped into the pits to top up on fuel. And yeah, once we got going again, I only needed like 10 litres if I kept saving it at that sort of same pace. So yeah, I was sort of contemplating whether that I made the right call to stay out or not, but yeah, it's worked out all right.
Well, you jumped your teammate in the pit strategy. That's racing sometimes. You get the cautions that go your way, but a lot more often you'll get the ones that don't really go your way. It was a split field, a split decision up and down the field tonight. Reasonably, a good race, a good way to kick things off from the Speedcafe eSeries round number 1.
Yeah, definitely a good way to start the series, and yeah, I got lucky with going that extra lap, so I didn't get caught in traffic when I pitted. So yeah.
You certainly had good pace all lap, all race, Matthew. We're just watching the replay here. You were certainly having a crack everywhere every time we're looking at you.
Yeah, you got to be, trying to be on the limit around here. If you get it slightly wrong, things can end quite quickly.
And then finally, mate, how many commiserations were given out to Simon Nicholson when he finished behind you?
I kind of knew something was going to happen with his position there when they had to pit a lap earlier, because there'd be quite a few cars that would go that extra lap and cause a bit of traffic for him.
All right, mate, congratulations on finishing second here tonight. Who are the sponsors that make it possible for you and Team PGZ?
I don't know if we've got any sponsors here at the moment, so it's just PGZ and regards.
Well, congratulations there tonight, mate, and cracking way to kick the series off. And tell Nico we'll see him fire back in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll just get to have a chat with him sometime through the season.
Thanks a bunch, Stenchy, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, great drive, mate. Well done.
Now, finally, we're going to move up to the fastest BMW here this evening. Damon Woods, that thing was an absolute rocket ship. Were you worried when Nicholson pulled out that early margin?
I wouldn't say worried. I knew that I had the race pace after the practice stuff that I was doing, so I knew that if I had clear air, I was going to be able to catch Simo. But obviously, I think at the start of the race, I was quite concerned considering my qualifying position. I was hoping I wasn't going to get held up by the two guys in front of me, but luckily I was able to get Denchi off the start, and then Andrew a couple laps later, and then that gave me the clean air I needed, especially over the top of the mountain, to claw back the tenths that you need to catch that Ferrari, especially in that bottom section of the track.
In terms of race strategy, obviously that safety car throw up, if it had happened, if it had gone an extra lap, it would have been a no-brainer to absolutely pit every day of the week there. Were you worried when that safety car came out? Because it was right on the edge of the fuel window. It was still going to be a massive fuel save to get the car to come home. Ultimately, I think you've come out on the right side of things just. But does that sometimes just eat away at you? Oh, should I pit? Shouldn't I pit there?
My decision was purely based off circumstance. I saw that Simo didn't pit, so I decided that following him and his strategy would be probably beneficial. Especially because I knew he had the pace compared to the guys that were going to potentially go for the no stop.
The series itself, it's going to be a long twisting journey. There's quite a breadth, quite a depth of tracks. We've got Phillip Island, lots of long flowing corners. We've got Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which has got a lot of those tight, twisty flickbacks and then acceleration zones. It's going to be a real good opportunity for a lot of these different cars to show their case. Are you confident with the BMW? Is it the right car to be in for this season?
I don't know if it's going to be the OP car at most tracks, but I think looking at previous events that myself have done, I think that it's probably the most consistent over most tracks. So that was ultimately probably the deciding factor in choosing this car. So I know that despite it might have some tracks where it's not going to be as quick as the Ferrari or the Merc, for example, I know that most weeks it's going to be competitive enough that I'm going to be able to run in the top 5 and bag the points I need to get a championship.
And that's what it's about, but you've got to start that off with a strong performance, and strong performance you've put together here tonight, mate. Congratulations on signing, sealing, delivering round number 1. Who are the sponsors that make it possible for you?
First of all, I'd just like to thank Door Esports, also VRS, Recaro, JBL, Tailored Rig, Arima Sportswear, Garmin, and finally SX Group.
Congratulations, mate. Bang up race there tonight, and that was awesome from go to woe. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice drive, Damon. Well done.
Now, we've got one other driver that we're going to quickly have a chat through here, Pete. He's one of the drivers that probably spent most of the night sideways compared to most of the other drivers. It was a wild ride. We caught the ride that he had up and across the top, but there was also a pit lane entry there, Mr. Josh Muggleton.
Oh, you saw that, did you?
We missed nothing here, mate. She was a wild night.
Your broadcast is up to speed then, that's good.
I don't call us Speedcafe for no reason here, mate.
Absolutely.
Take us through the night, because it was tough, it was tricky, there was incidents right the way through. Safety car, you had to make a pick on which way you were going to go with the strategy. What was the night all about? Oh, okay, there we go. is I thought skateboarding went out with the 2000s, mate.
Oh, look, I made it interesting the whole night. Why not try something different? Look, clearly I got caught with my pants down a little bit with my car choice. The thing tried to kill me every lap, repeatedly. So I might have to explore what penalty options are available for changing car after round one. But yeah, look, real world got in the way a little bit this week for preparation. So I was a bit behind the 8 ball to start with. I class that as a win that I actually finished. So yeah, we'll have to up my game for the following rounds, definitely, because these guys are absolutely on their game. But yeah, look, still a good time, still a great series, and the night was run really well, so good to be a part of that, and can't wait to see some more racing and watch the replay, because by the sound of it, it was a bit of a cracker.
Mate, just if I may cut in for a second, well done on your save across the top of the hill on the grass at McPhillamy.
Hang on, you'll have to narrow that down to which one, because there was about 20 of them each lap.
Well, the one we caught, you were 4 wheels on the grass and then sort of caught it as you came across Skyline, and you took the sensible route and straight lined it. That was a nice move. There was a lot of cars around.
Oh, you think I had a choice in that, do you? Yeah, good.
Oh, no,
You're giving me more credit than what I deserve, I think.
You look like you had it under control.
Oh, yeah, some sort of control. But yeah, it was interesting. That's for sure. I could not commit over Skyline or even through Metal Grate, so I was a bit of a sitting duck there, and it was a toss of the coin whether I was going to make it out the other side every time. So yeah, we like I said, I might have to see what penalty options are available for changing cars, because I think I was the only idiot to drive the Porsche tonight, so I'll have to rectify that.
Mate, I think the Porsche Cup racing is where that Porsche 992 should stay at the moment.
Mate, this thing's got ABS and traction control and everything. It's more sideways than a Cup car. I don't know how.
Well, congratulations, mate. At least you walk away with your life at the end of it, and you got to do some grinding, take you back to the skateboarding days of teenage years, shall we?
Yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Everyone's probably a bit too young for that, but I remember it well.
Yeah, no, you're pitching right to me. Congratulations, mate. I hope you had a great night, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Looking forward to it.
And finally, one final conversation that we're supposed to have here tonight. Going to bring Shane in as the commentary booth. Now, Shane, first round of the Speedcafe series, you're in charge here. You're running things. How were the nerves from your point of view?
Haven't slept for a few days. Haven't slept properly for a few days, but when I saw everybody join the grid and the safety car roll away and all the kind of effort that I've put in the last month or so, yeah, kind of felt worth it. And see all the positive comments and see the quality of the broadcast and the commentary. You guys were amazing. Luke from Race Stars TV, production was unbelievable. Like, I've had so many positive comments in the background, and people saying, is this live? Like, is this really on? Well, not knowing that it's actually a sim that they're watching. So big thank you to Speedcafe, Carl and all the boys at Speedcafe, Steve and Ewan, that put in all the effort, getting all the stories and everything out at such short notice, and of course Jonathan and Keegan in race control, who I think are still in the race control room talking with drivers, wanting to make protests and so on. But I'm sure there'll be a few penalties handed out overnight and posted about during the morning. So once again, thank you to everyone that participated, and also to those guys who missed out on pre-qualifying this week. It's only the top 10 in points that transfer to round 2 at Road America in a fortnight's time. So there'll be pre-qualifying chances, 30 spots up for grabs for the next round. So all you guys that have joined the league that didn't attempt pre-qualifying, get in there and have a crack, because there's soon to be announced some pretty mega prizes up for grabs. So get yourselves in and get some practice done for Road America.
That's
Thanks,
it,
guys.
ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for jumping in and having a quick chat with us, Shane. It's not all over as well. If you don't make the top end of town, there is more racing to come. If you're outside that top 40 that make it into the race server, there will be still action to be had.
There's a
Finally.
second server after each, at each race every 2 weeks.
And finally, we'll wrap the round up here. Damon Woods takes the title off of Matthew Dench and Luke Mitchinson, who brought home that phenomenal fuel save strategy. Safety cars abounded. The last lap chaos, the last dash, as everyone tries to get down the inside, as everyone looks for room, and an untimely error from multiple drivers coming out of Murray's corner on that second to last lap kicks off chaos down into turn number 1. Have a look at the number of drivers that finished one or more laps down. They were all on the lead lap. They could not complete their final laps. Ray Oliver's down there as well. Jesse Butler, TK, Lee Vandenberger, multiple drivers not making the
Big
end of
names.
the race, including Ben Holiday, who was penalised for an iRacing chat infringement as well. So there was some issues between the drivers that'll have to be solved, and drama will continue. Next round, ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks' time, we'll be coming to you live from Road America in Wisconsin. It's home of one of the more interesting IndyCar races. There was drama there last year when the NASCAR Xfinity Series went there, and the American Le Mans Series, the IMSA Series, takes itself there and goes racing and multi-class racing. Here, we'll just be taking the GT3 cars there. Can the drivers qualify? Are the guys that outside the top 10, who will make it to round number 2 of the Speedcafe eSeries? Who won't make the big dance? Big shout out to all the sponsors out there on screen as well. Speedcafe, Truck Assist, Morris Pertec, Batteries, Mobile One, Michelin, Tire Plus, Super Cheap Auto, King Chrome, KTM, Meguars, Optus, and Lloyd's Classic Car Auctions. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been round number 1 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. It's been a pleasure to bring it to you, and we'll see you in 14 days' time as the drivers take to Road America.